geliyor oraya. Bir sorun yok.
Teymur, will there live?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Will there be live streaming on YouTube?
Like they will view English. Yes. Can you hear me, Donna?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'll share the
If there is
Okay,
live
when-
streaming,
Yeah, when it starts, then I'll share the link with you.
yeah, thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of the God, the merciful, the compassionate, may peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad. I would like to thank all those in attendance and apologize for the delay for technical issues. Today we are going to review a book number 46 in our book discussion series in CIGA, the Center for Islam and Global Affairs in Sabah Din Zaim University. This book comes at the 77th anniversary of the Palestinian Nakba. This event that any people can go through, with 80% of the population uprooted from their lands in 1948. They were uprooted because of the crime of the century perpetrated by the Zionist project or scheme in Palestine and the region as a whole. This book discusses a very important issue, which is how this people, the Palestinian people who were uprooted from their land and almost 8 decades later, continue to struggle and resist. What are the factors and causes that help them withstand and keep steadfast when we are talking about 5 or 6 generations of Palestinians? The authors of this book are with us today. They are Mr. Majid Azir and Ibrahim Al Ali. And this is going to be more of a discussion than a presentation, in order for it to be more lively and dynamic. And then we are going to open the floor for the audience to comment or ask questions. Before we start, I would like to remind you that this dialogue or this discussion is also being broadcast or live streamed in English on YouTube, and I would like to thank the translators. Omar and Dana, who are always with us. And do not hesitate to provide when we ask are the most important translators, and they are actually working in international conferences such as Davos. Anyway, we thank them and thank your attendance too. I'd like to start with a question to my dear brothers, the authors, to present themselves. Mr. Majid was born in Beit Lahem, but lived in Kuwait. Yeah, could you please take up the microphone? And Mr. Ibrahim, you were born in Syria. These both experiences are experiences of refugees, forcibly displaced people who did not grow up and spend their childhood in their homeland. I lived in Beit Lahem for 5 years only, as a matter of fact. Can you please elaborate? First of all, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allow me, first of all, to thank you, Mr. Dr. Sami, and thank CIGA and Sabah Din Zaim University for hosting us. And I am honored to be because this is the second time I am hosted here to discuss one of my books. And I would like also to thank all those who helped this product to see the light, like Dr. Munsif Al-Marzuqi, who has provided an introduction for the book, and also Mr. Al-Akhdar, who provided the cover design, and Dr. Hani, who have reviewed and proofread the and edited the copy. And of course, I am very proud to have co-authored this book with Mr. Ibrahim Al Ali, my dear brother. In terms of my life, yes, Beit Lahem, and my mother was from El Maliha, who was displaced from her area in 1948, and they met in Beit Lahem, and they married, and I was their child. In 8th of December 1962, I was born, and then in 1967 was the catastrophe. So I was displaced. The typical way that you have the children waving from the buses as they, and we moved to Kuwait. And I would like to say that we are honored and proud because Kuwait has hosted us with all hospitality and brotherhood. And they have cherished our heritage and our nationalism and our Palestinian culture. So there was a mini camp at the beginning of 200 cubic meters, and then Kuwait introduced Palestine schools specifically for Palestinians, Palestinian children, which offered a patriotic national environment and upbringing. And then I studied engineering in the University of Kuwait, and then with the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait, we were displaced to Jordan. So I had my share of that war too. And then, so yes, I graduated from the engineering faculty in Kuwait and Jordan. Then I went to London, where I put a center. I started to work on politics, and I finished my master's degree in political science. Okay, so Mr. Ibrahim, you were born in Syria. Can you please tell us more about yourself? In the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate, may God help me speak and ease my words and my path. I would like to renew my gratitude and thanks to Dr. Sami and all those who contributed to this national product or national achievement, which we hope will add to the Palestinian literature. And I would like to thank all those mentioned by Mr. Majid, as well as himself, and he was the father, the godfather of literature on refugees and forced displacement. I was born from two refugee parents who were displaced in 1948. We descend from Safad originally. My father is from Al-Qabba'a, my mother is from Al-Ja'una, nearby villages, and they were refugeed to Syria in 1948, and I was born in El Yarmouk camp to that family. And I was the middle child. I was number 5 or 6 of 11 children. And thank God we were brought up and elementary level or school until the middle of the 3rd grade in Syrian schools, and then I moved to finish my primary and basic education in the UNRWA schools in from Al-Arabiya and then Al-Qastal in El Yarmouk. These are UNRWA schools. And in Syria, as you know, the studying until the 9th grade is mandatory, and you can complete it in Al-UNRWA, and then you move to the Syrian schools to finish your high school. And then I studied 2 specializations in the university. First of all, I had a diploma in anesthesia and health sciences and ICU care. And I also wanted to finish a BA in Sharia and law, and then a diploma in Islamic economy, and as well, in addition, of course, to other courses and educational courses. And then I started to work for Al Auda Studies Center, and we started writing about the Palestinian particularly the refugees, ever since. So what made you write or co-author this book? What is the rationale or the motive behind this book? Actually, there are multiple factors that played into this book, because many people ask, how do you, as Palestinians, because as Palestinians living amongst the people, we see that there are some things that emerged 10 or 15, and you would ask the of those places where and you're from, they will tell you not only Palestine, but exactly which village, which district, the capital of their country. They also keep and maintain the Palestinian dialect and accent and the traditions, the customs, because all of this is interwoven to write the story of a people, the story of a cause. And that's why I met with Mr. Majid, and I believe we had hundreds of hours of dialogue and conversation on this book and the ideas and the how we structure it and how we formulate it in order to answer that question, which is what makes the Palestinian cause continue to date as though it's recent. Would you like to add anything? Yes, if I may. Actually, Dr. Sami and dear attendees, this is not merely a book. It is a forward-looking plan for liberation. Now that this book has been issued on the 77th anniversary of the Nakba, and this was planned actually, and I would like to thank Dr. Nawaf Al-Qadimi from the publishing house who met that deadline in publishing it on the 77th anniversary of a Nakba. The 77 years are gone, are the past, and they have produced the present, and they have created the cycle of liberation. What makes liberation continue to survive to date, and what can we find in the past that would help us understand and better build the future? There are some factors and some the plan. So this is a sort of a lighthouse to show the way, if you like. That's why, as Ibrahim mentioned, we spent hundreds of hours discussing those factors. What are the factors that all those who Palestinian stakeholders need to strengthen in order to work together and weave together to put together as a plan, so that the unity of the Palestinian people, their Arab pan-Arab affiliation, their customs and traditions, their positioning in the international arena, all of those things are factors that show that Palestine is no. Give me a second. You're saying that this is a reference for people who believe that Palestine is for Palestinians, or the Palestinians who believe in the liberation of Palestine? No, Palestinians and non-Palestinians. All those who believe in the freedom of Palestine will better understand the demography, how the Palestinian from the who lives in Denmark, but who comes from the same village, has affinity with the Palestinian who continues to live back home in their own village. And that's why I believe that we are what we tried to do in this book is to show the accomplishment of the Palestinian people, which is unmatched with even we have the whole world standing up against us, and nonetheless we continue to persist and survive. And that book, I am proud that with my brother, it shows the way how we have been steadfast. There are some organic factors that the Zionists cannot strip from us. No matter what they do, they cannot strip Islam from us. They cannot strip from us or take from us the status of Al-Aqsa Mosque. They cannot strip us of the historical positioning in and the extension back in time that Palestine goes to. So our claim to Palestine is not religious at the end of the day, but our claim to Palestine, our right to Palestine is also a legal and historic necessity. And because if any passerby would claim that this territory is theirs, it will be chaos. While Palestine, because the Jews or the Zionists were in this region or this area for a temporary period of time. You cannot be selective when you read history. This is what the book says. It says that we have an extension, we go back in time much further. And that's why we are proud that this is just more than just a book. So it is a lighthouse for anyone who would like to study Palestine and understand Palestine for what it is. There's something that we forget. Palestine is 27,000 square kilometers, including all types of topographies. The highest points, flat areas, etc. And it created traditions and customs, the local customs that are as diverse as the topography of Palestine. So we have this chemistry with this land that have given rise to this to those traditions. So people in the West Bank do not know fish, they know fish, while those who live on the coast, they eat fish, not msakhan, they don't even know it. The people in the Golan, the people in Safad, they all have their peculiarities, and this diversity and this interwoven identity with the land created the permanence of this cause and of this Palestinian identity. In general, what you mean by permanence, you mean the permanence of the people on the land, the permanence of the claim of that land and their continued dream to go back to this land. This is a trinity, so to speak. We have the people, the land, and the determination to go back, and the scheme to go back. They might persist as a people, or the land might persist, or they might forget about the land, but they have a project, they have a scheme to go back. So the title of the book is The Permanence of the Permanence, while the subheading is Factors of Keeping the Palestinian Cause Alive. How many factors? Well, we have 3 chapters actually talking about the factors. So we have subjective factors that are part and parcel of the Palestinian people, the Palestinian acquired, so to speak, factors, and there are mixed factors. Let's start with the subjective factors. Actually, those are 11 main factors: the location and the geography of Palestine, the religious status of Palestine, be it Islamic or even Christian, because as you know, Christian is the birthplace of Jesus Christ, and also the traditions, customs, the familial bonds in Palestine, and even the Palestinian family as a unit and how it contributed to the permanence of this cause, and also the sacrifices by martyrs, injured, and prisoners. All of those offered those sacrifices throughout the life of this Palestinian cause, keeping alive the questions of why, even for children, of why this is happening and why these people continue to struggle. And this is in terms of the subjective causes. Okay, Mr. Majid, what about the acquired or objective factors? The objective factors are the external factors, rather, are those inflicted by others or by a third party, so to speak, in which kept the status quo persisting. So, and this third party can be Arab or brother or even the enemy. So, for example, there is the violence used by the enemy. It is the level of the violence that helped the Palestinian created a sort of continuing stimulus for resistance. And also there is the international dimension. The internationals have made and created the Nakba, and they issued resolutions on Palestine, and these resolutions have become part and parcel of the Palestinian cause, like the Balfour Accord. The Balfour Accord is just is the Balfour statement a permanence factor? Yes, I'll tell you how. Ever since it was issued, the Palestinian people felt that Britain was conspiring. And if you look at the terms used ever since, you will notice that this statement, the Balfour Accord, have created a sense in the Palestinian collective consciousness that they are being conspired against, and studies to be made on the conspiracy. Like now we have also a series issued by Al Jazeera documentary on a Nakba. And there's also all the massacres and all the violations against the Palestinian people, which have become part of the legacy and the heritage and the collective consciousness of the Palestinian cause. He mentioned 11 subjective factors. How many objective or external factors? Actually, those were categorized into main categories: the Arab, Islamic, both. In each case, there is in the international, the enemy. In each the book to showcase the point and how these factors have created the permanence of the Palestinian cause. Okay, if we say Camp David, for example, how did it help the Palestinian cause persist? Yes, the Palestinian people have went through certain events, like the second Camp David Accord between Barak and Yasser Arafat. What happened afterwards? It is that accord or that agreement that gave rise to the Al-Aqsa Intifada, and it created a new wave of uprisings ever since. So in the second Camp David also, there was a sort of an Arab in the first Camp David, rather, the Arabs were moving, and there was a current and continuous and continuing a process of solidarity to reproduce these creating the factors for permanence. For example, resolution 14194, it about the right to return. This is an external factor, but because this was voted in the United Nations, but it has become part and parcel of the issue of refugees. The right to return is part of their identity and understanding. Okay, but there are some negative and positive issues. So Oslo Accords are negative for how the result. What we focused upon was the positive impact in the long run, which is the continuance or permanence of the cause. We might have incurred damages from those accords, but those accords have reignited the spirit of revolution, if you like. Actually, we discussed these issues very often with my colleague, and we tried to focus on the positive impact rather than the negative. Of course, there has been massacres. There has been, for example, in Tel Zatar, Jordan, in Lebanon, etc. But we agreed that we would not linger on those incidents because the point of this book is to so we mention those historical events, but we mention the positive impact in the long run. Okay, so in terms of the mixed factors, there were 4 or 5. One of them is education and the importance and significance of education for the Palestinian people and how the Palestinian people managed to overcome all the challenges in the issue of education. And they were convinced that any family would even go without food but pay the tuition for university because they cherished the idea of education, and they realized its importance and significance for the Palestinian cause at all levels. People challenges that they face today, like taking the education based on the curricula they are offered in their refugee or host countries. So they have curriculum in Jordan, different from Syria, different from Lebanon, different from that in Palestinian territories, and how the Palestinian people managed to adapt to the situation and create some alternatives. So we talk about some popular education or parallel education initiatives that talk about the Palestinian history or geography, because in many countries they don't want to teach the history of Palestine. What else? We also talked about media, the Palestinian media. We have official and we have popular media. There are we talked about how the Palestinian people and the Palestinian public frameworks created alternatives through civil society and public events like this one, by the way, which is a non-official event discussing the history of Palestine. So we're talking about seminars, workshops, or having specific slogans in that echo the demonstrations and echo the protests. So the creation of a public awareness, yes, so media and education, and then also the camps. Camps are both subjective and objective, or internal and external factors, so to speak. So when we talk about camps, if you look at Ain al-Hulwa camp, and you see that there are different neighborhoods, Zir, Al-Safura. The same applies to Al-Yarmouk from Safad. All the names of the streets are based on Palestine, recreate and reinforce the Palestinian character, the Palestinian identity. So the Palestinians would learn about their homeland through the camp. The PLO, through as a representative structure of the Palestinian people, managed sometimes, or so you think that this is an accomplishment? Yeah. So in the UNRWA schools, it was the PLO that was in charge. When there was no UNRWA, PLO was offering education in areas where there were no UNRWA schools. So I remember that there were schools run by the PLO. No, yeah, I'm talking about the political aspect as a framework that represents the Palestinian people. Is it a positive achievement? Well, as as my colleague mentioned, we are trying to invoke the positive impact, but I don't think that you have neglected the negative aspects. No, not at all. But we focused on the positive. For example, the PLO managed to send many Palestinian students to have scholarships out abroad and study, etc. Yeah, but didn't the PLO take the Palestinian cause away from its own core, in essence, through the Oslo Accord? Wouldn't you think so? Yeah, I mean, even after Oslo, if you look at the public level, there has been a spike in public uh, people started to feel that the PLO is starting to give up on some of its rights, the refugees and inside Palestine. So we started uprisings across the world. So we talk about the Palestinian people specifically after Oslo in Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and the Americas and Europe. All of those areas witnessed agitation by the Palestinian refugees and Palestinian people because they noticed the danger, the looming danger. So it created that turn in public uprisings and agitation. Yeah, but would you allow me, please, to focus a bit here on the, because this is quite important, the mixed factors between subjective and objective. So the Palestinians per se are revolutionary and rebellious, and they are steadfast. And the objective factors are those that were made available to them. So the PLO was an objective factor because it was created by third parties, but the revolution, coupled with the revolutionary spirit of the Palestinian people, it started to create a representation structure or representative structure. And if you look at the diplomacy between until throughout all of its episodes, it has helped to create a Palestinian identity that cannot be denied. We're talking about 77 years. And we personally are part and parcel of the output of those 77 years. For example, I myself was studied in PLO-run schools, even in Kuwait. about the right of return, about Palestine. So the representation of Palestinians in the United Nations, regardless of Oslo Accord, helped us become take steps forward. The membership in the United Nations was one of the most important aspects that let us and Al-Auda Studies Center to host the permanent representative of Palestine. And also the issue of education. The Arab world helped establish some Palestinian universities, like the Islamic University in Gaza, because Palestinians were so keen on continuing their education. And there's also the Studies Center and also the media. Everything that that was in the surroundings or in the circumstances was an objective or an external factor, but it was the subjectivity, the subjective factors of the Palestinian people that coupled with these and created the permanence of the Palestinian cause. It was the urge to continue their education that helped Palestinians continue to study against all odds and to continue to document their massacres and use their cameras, etc. In 2 minutes for each of you, what does this book offer in terms of as an addition, different from other, that is unique, that makes it unique? This book is actually a book that tries to establish those ideas by showing roots. There are dozens of books that talk about Palestine and the Palestinian cause, but there are a few points that we made in this book that are factors of survival, and even these factors, as I said, as my colleague mentioned, they talk about the past, but it builds for the future because it feeds into the project of liberation of Palestine, because those factors that helped this cause survive for 77 years must be reinforced in order to see this through and liberate Palestine. What I would like to point out in this last quarter of a minute is that this book, we tried to use references, hundreds of major publications and books about Palestine. So the information cited in this book is not unsupported or based on subjective views, but rather is referenced and well supported. Would you like to add something? Yes, Dr. Sami and dear attendees, what the Palestinian people lack is a culture of evaluation or assessment, which helps them get lessons learned. And this book tries to do exactly that. Mr. Ibrahim Al-Ali, with his extensive experience and coupled with my experience, we find ourselves living in around 80% of the factors that we cited in these books. The is a practical outcome of the models and examples of the Palestinian people based on 55 years. Oh, I'm showing that how I am so old. 75 years actually of experience and life. So it is not a pure academic endeavor, but the result of a practical life experience coupled with the academic endeavor in order to feed into the Palestinian experience. Let me conclude by saying that what the Israeli army did when they entered in Beirut, as everybody knows, is that they went to all the statistics and studies of the Palestinian Studies Center and took them away because they are keen on obliterating this. And we hope that, of course, there's nothing that is flawless, but we believe that this book is unprecedented in terms of its approach, the points it makes, the fields it sheds light on, and it opens and paves the way for future and similar endeavors. So, for example, when we talk about displacement or migration, we went to a Tanaf camp between Iraq and Syria to see the Palestinians there, and also the camps in Lebanon. And we also visited Gaza. And also we made use of the experience of my co-author in Syria. Okay, the last point I would like to bring up in relation to the point you made more than once, which is about the Liberation Project. And this is included in your recommendations. It seems to me that you are indirectly, but strongly suggesting that the Palestinian people, if the factors are ripe, is capable of liberating Palestine alone. Do you think that's true? Only with a minimal support would the Palestinian was lost because of so many regional and international factors that helped our land to be robbed and our property to be taken away. So no such international conspiracy and scheme can be undone by mere national endeavors. But what we're talking about are the national factors. So this is the methodology of the book, basically, Dr. Sami. You need this mixture, this blend, if you like, and combination of factors that led us to the status quo, that the current situation, and the conclusions are about what can be done in order to take this to the next level. I do agree with you because the book actually talked about the participation by Arabs and Muslims in the Palestinian cause since 1948 in the martyrs' cemeteries in Jenin, Jerusalem, and many Palestinian cities. There are many martyrs from the Arab world, from Bosnia, from Sudan, from other places. So Arab and Islam, Muslim people are a decisive factor because, as we mentioned, one of the subjective factors defining Palestine is the Islamic and religious status of Palestine, in addition to its geographic location being at the heart of the Arab world, a crossing point between the East and the West. So the Palestinian people, the Arab, the Muslim, the free people of the world, the Christians, are stakeholders of Palestine, and lost and lots is liberty in an international scheme. We also need an international or multifaceted approach to undo it. My remark is that this book has elaborated on many of those factors, but when you talked about this aspect in particular, the conclusions, it was rather in summary only. Dr. Munsaf Al-Marzouqi, I believe, wrote the introduction of this book, and he has sent us a pre-recorded video, a short speech, which we would like to play. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The book by Majid Azir Ibrahim Al-Ali, which is being reviewed today, about the permanence, the factors of the persistence of the Palestinian cause, talks about a series of resistances and resistance waves that the Palestinian people used to liberate its land, culturally armed resistance, peaceful resistance, all forms of resistance that the Palestinian people used to liberate their land. And this multifaceted resistance, and in its wealth and in its peak, because what we are seeing and witnessing today is the last attempt by the Zionist regime to obliterate this resistance and prove that it is controlling a land without a people and taking it because they are a people without a land. But those and for those who have not, I believe that this book echoes the well-known poet who said that when the people would want to live truly, then their fate will definitely respond and they shall live. And there is no other people that has clung to life and survival and who have clung to their land and been as steadfast as the Palestinian people. So I believe that this book is a very good read that shows you the causes for admiration of the Palestinian people, that the whole humanity must be proud of, because they are characterized by all forms of sublime human values. And those human values, sublime human values, have become part and parcel of their a special identity. And I believe that this identity and those values are echoing and resonating across the world, especially in the Arab and Muslim world, and they shall fruit. So salute to Palestine, and we hope to see it through. Thank you, Dr. Monsef, for providing the introduction for the book and for sharing this video or these remarks. Now we open the floor for attendees. Is there a microphone? For, can I comment? Yeah. Thank you so much for this review and for all the comments. I believe that some of the factors for the persistence of the Palestinian cause. Would you please introduce yourself first? Yeah. I'm Ghazi Hassouna, an anesthetic and ACU doctor, resident here in Istanbul. There are so many factors, I believe, that keep the Palestinian cause alive, and I don't believe it would die ever, because it is a central Islamic cause, and I believe that the cause of Palestine and Al-Aqsa is at the heart of the Islamic causes. And I believe that somehow there is a sort of ignorance where there is some kind of words that are infiltrating unconsciously to our children. Many Arab media outlets are using the word Israel on the map instead of Palestine, so our children may be deceived. And there are also many Arab media outlets that are also hosting Israeli officials as though they don't have any platforms to speak, and I don't know if you can communicate this media outlets who must be fair, at least, if not Islamic. But if they use the word Israel, when will our children learn that this is Palestine? Would you please introduce yourself first? My name is Yasser Ali. I proofread this book, and I have quick remarks about this book. The previous book was a discussion and a description of the Palestinian movement. And I believe that this is more in depth or more profound in terms of an overview of the Palestinian cause and resistance, because it is an intellectual undertaking that studies in great detail and depth the factors for the persistence of the Palestinian cause. When you even read the titles and the headings of the book, you will see that this book chooses to be positive and to create a venue for hope and optimism for the liberation of Palestine. To be brief, I told my colleague, my friend, who is an activist in Canada, about this book. We were in a sit-in, and we had a person, a Canadian person from Indigenous people who was in this sit-in, and he told us that our cause is as fair as yours, but it has been lost because we gave up. So please don't give up yourselves. Your cause will not die unless you give up. This book is sort of a catalog or a handbook on the reinforcement of the factors of survival and on the AI generation now must introduce new tools for the persistence and the steadfastness of the Palestinian cause. I believe that this book is, as I said, well, when you say you're old, I think you're only old. We're not ourselves. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Ala Allah, who the responsible for the cover design. I would like to talk about the cover design. I suggested for the authors around 20 different ideas and different drawings that feed into this point. And the main issue was something to talk about the roots, the deep roots of the Palestinian people in their land. And then the authors believed that the word permanence was the best in terms of title and meaning. So out of 20 suggestions of 10,000 in my archive, they chose this one, but then we developed it a bit. The idea was to highlight the roots of the Palestinian cause, running deep into the land, and also in Quranic terms. A tree has a great deal of symbolism. So when Allah talked about the blessed olive tree, which is for which Palestine is very well known, this is a symbol of permanence, and there are some years, and it is a deeply rooted tree that is deeply rooted in the land, and that is its branches extend far away. And this is why I used this drawing showing the branches on and I used this triangle also because it symbolizes the Palestinian map, which is being spread across the world. And I used on the world's map, and I used the watercolors, which are hard to use, and And if this cover was considered or evaluated by professional artists, although I'm a doctor myself, they would realize the artistic and symbolic value of this drawing. So this is what I wanted to add in terms of the idea of the design. But what about the number? These are 14 location points. Is there any point here? Not really. It is just symbolic to show the spread out of the Palestinian cause. I believe there is something that we discussed. These flags show the spread of Palestinians across the world and their maintenance of their Palestinian people wherever they are because they still maintain their roots. So the number is only figurative, a symbolic for a symbolic representation of the 7 million Palestinians across the world. And my colleague who made this design is my colleague and friend for 40 years, by the way. And this very relationship is a representation of the unity of the Palestinian people. I would like to conclude in 2 seconds. I have designed dozens of book covers, but this particular book has so much more value for me because it comes from a very dear friend. Would you please introduce yourself? Alhamdulillah, and peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad. My name is Muhammad Mshainish, head of Tadamun with Palestine Association in Turkey. I would like to thank CIGA and Dr. Sami for these beautiful events and all contributors. And also I would like to thank Mr. Majid Azir and Ibrahim Al-Ali for this very important issue. And I would like to start with the Wilson Committee sent in 1917, the King Green Committee, which was a fact-finding mission or committee to poll the Palestinian people and to see whether there were any Palestinian people at all. And they ended up with a report that was obliterated and hidden because the recommendation was to implant. And now, after all those years, we are proving that truly this area, this land cannot become a land for any other people apart from the Palestinian people with all its components. Now, to study this issue and to structure those factors that helped the permanence of the Palestinian cause is a very worthwhile undertaking, I believe, for a very good reason, because after 77 years of the establishment of the Zionist entity, they still need the protection of the superpower, and they cannot survive on their own. Although there is no comparison at all between the power, the actual military might between the Palestinians and the Zionist entity. But the important aspect is that this permanence is outstanding and must be studied. And I believe that studying it will help us prevent and preempt some of those malicious schemes. And I believe that the schemes to evict the Palestinian people go back even further back in time since the 19th century, and none of them have worked. And even now in Gaza, they want to displace and evict the Palestinian people, but people are persisting. And I believe aspect of the Palestinian cause is a very worthwhile undertaking, particularly coming from the authors with their long experience in refugees and displaced issues for years. I believe that part of the identity that we have maintained for all those years is that now, for example, Mr. Sami has been in for 40 years an American, and he and lived outside Palestine, but continues to be active for Palestine. Mr. Majid Azir and Ibrahim Al Ali, they have lived in refugee camps and outside Palestine, etc. So it is this blend, if you like, of the Palestinian mosaic that continue to persist at a distance and be active for their own cause. I would like to conclude with a question because I didn't manage to finish the book, as a matter of fact. And so my question, did you talk about the schemes and how to confront them or not? So you talked about the factors of how this cause continued to survive to date, but did you talk about the conspiracies or the schemes, including Oslo? I believe Oslo is a more serious or dangerous undertaking and a threat than the Nakba because it mixed the ideas of friend and foe. We had to redefine our friends and foes. For example, there are some areas or some documents issued by the PLO that talk about Palestine and the Aqsa flood. I believe that given all the experiences mentioned in the book and what we have lived through as Palestinian people and what you have lived through as authors, we have many lessons learned in order to stop those schemes because you know the Americans also, for example, are using aid as a tool of pressure and to evict or displace the Palestinian people from Gaza or help take them to certain directions. I would like to thank you again and thank Dr. Sami for hosting. Would you please introduce yourself? My name is Ahmed Taha from Al camp. I would like to thank the authors for this very valuable book, but there is a very important thing that we must talk about since in the title we have what keeps the Palestinian cause alive. We have to mention that what we notice with the Palestinian children when they are 5 or 6 years old, they put up the victory sign. This is an indication of their intuition and very pure instincts, as though they have been tuned and wired to love their homelands. And we know so many people, and it is this form of upbringing that brought up and that gave rise to the of the steadfastness and persistence of the Palestinian people who do not accept any alternative or semi-solutions. Would you please introduce yourself? My name is Rimal Eddin, the head of the Turkish Palestinian Work Association. I would like to congratulate the authors, Mr. Majid Azir and Ibrahim Al Ali and Professor Sami Al Aliyan. Thank you for hosting and inviting us for this book discussion. I would like to focus
on the issue of reviving the Palestinian cause from an economic perspective. As you can see, the occupation is trying with all its might to uproot the camps in Jenin, Tul Karim, and Nablus because they are a source of annoyance for it, because these are the people who have been victims of the occupation, and if they uproot those camps, and hopefully they would not manage to do so, they would weaken the steadfastness of the Palestinian people. But what we owe the Palestinian people inside Palestine is to support them, including using economic means. Now we are trying to cooperate with businessmen in the West Bank in establishing some factories to stop and help limit the number of Palestinian workers who work in uh, Israel, who need some job opportunities, and we have some businessmen who can offer those business or work opportunities, and we have now those associations of businessmen who are trying to operate some factories. The first factory we're working on right now is for fodder, around $350 million, and also another steel factory that might cost around $100 million in the West Bank, Al Khalil, Hebron, and Ramallah. They will offer some job opportunities for the Palestinians in order to hold fast to their land. And I hope that I know there are so many other ideas, but very often this economic aspect is overlooked because although it is an important aspect for the persistence and steadfastness of the Palestinian people. Are there any other hands? Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to thank my name is Ilham Al Hakim, a Palestinian journalist. I used to live in Syria as a refugee. Now, for 4 years, I've been living in Turkey. I would like to thank all those who have contributed to this book, and I would like to say that our main cause or the origin of the story, so to speak, is the camps. That's why we see that the Palestinian occupation, when it starts its onslaught on the West Bank or Gaza, it starts with the camps in order to evict them. They know is 1948 and who are demanding their right of return. The other point with regards to the permanence of and persistence of the Palestinian cause, I believe let's speak about the PLO, the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. But recently, we have a monopoly of Fatah on the PLO and creating a fissure between the Palestinian people and the PLO, which is its only representative. So, in your opinion, do you think that the PLO is no longer a factor of permanence? Or how can we regain it or restore it, so to speak? Are there any other questions or remarks? My name is Muhammad Asawan. I am a Palestinian journalist. Would you hold the microphone closer, please? Yeah, I am a retired Palestinian journalist, Muhammad Asawan. First of all, of course, I would like to salute and commend the creativity of the authors, Mr. Majid Azir and Mr. Majid Ibrahim Al Ali, especially that a few months ago we attended the signing ceremony of a book by Mr. Majid, and Mr. Hijazi, and I believe that I have read the book by Majid Al-Ali about the Palestinian refugee from uprooting to return, and of course, very importantly, thanks to CIGA, the hosting and organizer, and Dr. Sami. But I would like to talk about the 1940 requires monitoring and networking. What can be observed, monitored, and documented is the following. The efforts of historians and geographers like Mahmoud Yazbek and Mahmoud Arab and others. And I believe that the book by Mr. Shukri called the Palestinian sites between two eras or two maps issued by Shafaq Publishing House is one of the most important books because the author talks about 272 areas or sites that have been Judaized, and their names were changed, including 340 villages and 1,000 archaeological sites and some springs, rivers and valleys, and 14 lakes and 50 caves and 28 Canaan castles and 180 mountains and 210 hills. And the novelist Amir al-Habibi has explicitly referred to the Judaization of these areas in Al-Mutasha'il novel, and I quote, the arcs in the arcs square has big square, and Jahel Amir has become known with a different name, and Ain Jalut has become Ain Halut. And two, the monitoring of the names of the heads of municipalities in Arab municipalities in 1948 lands, and their work in coordination with international organization in order to respond to attempts of the Zionists to obliterate the memory of Nakba and its anniversary, and also their attempts and endeavors to maintain their Arab names. Could you please be brief? Also in Al Ramle city, the people of the city asked the head of the municipality to maintain the Arab name. He said, I will not change anything for a Muhammad or Jamal. Let them change their God and let them give up on the Prophet and Jamal Abdel Nasser. And third is to follow up on the operation and work of the education institutions in 1948 lands and Arab institutes like Mahmoud Darwish Institute in Kafr Yassin and Al Ufuq Al Thaqafi, or the Cultural Horizon, and Masrah or Al Maidan Theater in Haifa. These are important initiatives, and they require the great effort to regain all the locations and sites and geography. I believe such an undertaking was or has already been done by Dr. Salman Abu Sitta, and it is a huge undertaking that probably requires some refinement, but it has already, most of the effort has already been done. Each of the speakers will have like 4 minutes to conclude.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of God, I would like to thank all those who have intervened and their very kind words and remarks. You have all communicated very warm feelings for us. Let me start with Mr. Ghazi, the war of terminology. We have actually pointed out this issue when we talked about the combined factors. When we talked about media, we mentioned the war of terminology and the soft normalization, so to speak, that has been going on. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, Dr. Jamal, thank you. In combined factors, we did mention the importance of Palestinian capital and its contribution to the steadfastness of the Palestinian people inside Palestine, and how Palestinian expatriates or refugees in the Gulf area, Gulf states, or other areas that are who were capable of sending remittances to help their people in Palestine stand fast. And also in terms of the risks that in our recommendations, to talk about them will confront them, but so we mention them only by way of mentioning in the conclusions. Thank you, Mr. Ibrahim. The book's subheadings are encyclopedic. So I believe what we have done is we have opened the horizon. We have paved the way. So each of those titles can be made into an independent book. Each one of the subjective factors, the customs and traditions, the unity, the element of resistance, the deep-rootedness, the demography. And let me mention one thing in terms of demography. In the PLO showed in 2024, we have 14 million Palestinian people, and Mr. Abu Ghazala said we were 21 million, and another estimated the number at 40 million. So we have a problem in censuses. So, and it is an important factor of permanence. So each one of those titles requires an independent book. It is also important to talk about the other factors in detail. We do have a problem as a Palestinian people. Who would lead these Palestinian people with all that potential, creativity, persistence, and steadfastness to a point where they see this through? And so we have a leadership issue. The leaders who claim to represent us but do not respond to those needs and do not harness those potentials across borders to make use and take advantage of all those potentials of the Palestinian people across the world for the liberation of Palestine. So we have only paved the way. We cannot elaborate on each of those titles, but we believe that we have shed light on the most important points, including subjective factors, which are many and profound, including the unity, the deep-rootedness, the solidarity. There are billions that were used to come in remittances from around the world, officially and publicly, by Arabs and Palestinians alike. All of this helped the people of Palestine stand fast. The steadfastness of the Palestinian people did not come from mere subjective factors, but from the support of all the many Arabs, Palestinians, and Muslims across the world. We only can recall on the Husseini conference in the 30s. And Izzuddin al-Qassam, our pride, he's not from Gaza, he's not Palestinian even. He is an Arab Muslim. These factors, it would be tantamount to a crime if you play down or overlook any of those elements or factors. Each and this is our attempt to shed light on the main points. This is what our predecessors did before, and now we're trying to convey the message to our children and to the next generation. Ahmad, the grandson of Ibrahim al-Ali, by the way, do you know where his father comes from? His father is Syrian, born to a Palestinian grandfather. It is this combination, this blend, and this formula that helps us be steadfast. We must be grateful for all. This event actually comes in the anniversary or the week of Nakba. The Turkish associations have also started a week of solidarity events. And I would like to invite you to look at what Mr. Al-Manzourzuqi said and what everybody said, and thank you so much for having us. Thank you so much. I would like to thank the dear authors for this magnificent discussion, we thank them for their book and for their presence and discussion here. There are some copies if you would like to get a signed copy from the author. And I would like to conclude by saying that we have an exhibition about the genocide and about the Nakba. It would be on Thursday, and it would be opened on Thursday in the new building, which is the last building before the cafeteria to your right. It is going to